My name is TS Sudhir and you're watching Study with Sudhir. We are looking at a story called A House is Not a Home, and that's part of the CBSE Class 9 Moments, which is the supplementary reader of NCERT. Now, what is the story really all about? Now, this is written in first person. And let me first talk about the significance of the title. ये जो title है, A house is not a home. एक मकान एक घर नहीं है. ओके, दैट्स हाउ आई वुड प्रॉब्ली डू दी ट्रांसलेशन इनटू हिंदी. तो इसका अर्थ क्या है? नाउ बेसिकली व्हाट इट मींस इज दैट एक मकान जो है ईंटों से बनता है, मोर्टार से बनता है, सीमेंट से बनता है. बट जहां तक घर का सवाल है, घर बनता है प्यार से, रिश्तों से एंड mutual feelings say. If I may translate into English, it means that a house is made of walls and cement and mortar and whatever else, whereas a home is actually made of love, affection, feelings and relationships. Okay, so that is the difference and that's what the title essentially means. So while a house refers to a structure which is made of concrete material, when I say bricks and mortar and cement, home basically refers to a place where love and affection and concern for other members of the family is what binds the members who are inhabiting that particular common space. Because a 2-bedroom house, a 3-bedroom house, so it is the members of a family, a few people staying together, and there is that relationship between them, and that's what makes a home. That's what transforms a house into a home. Okay, would you say that it's an appropriate title? Of course, you would realize that while we go through the entire story, क्या ये title एक तरह से correct title है? It is because the author of the story, a person called Zan, a boy called Zan, he actually received so much of love from his friends after what really transpires in that particular home, that he was able to then build a new home based on that, with the foundation of all that love and affection. What he lost were physical belongings that he could get back, and now he would be able to kind of construct a new home based on this newfound love and affection from other people. What is the moral of the story? We could do that even after the story, but let me just tell you so that you get an idea while we are going through the entire story. Story ka moral kya hai? That one must face the challenges in life head on, and that is essentially the problem with the protagonist of the story. जो कहानी का जो मुख्य पात्र है कि क्या वे किसी भी तरह की मुश्किलों का सामना बिल्कुल धीरज से के साथ करते हैं या नहीं. And you would face a lot of challenges, but the trick is to remain firm in your resolve while you are facing those challenges. कि क्या आप एक तरह से दृढ़ रहते हैं जब किसी भी तरह की चुनौती का सामना करते हैं या नहीं. और यही इस पूरे कहानी का थीम है. Okay, so the protagonist of the story is a student, okay, who has just moved from one school to another school. Now the problem here is that while he was very popular, he was the head of his class, which means that he was the head boy kind of a person in his previous school. While he moves into a higher school, a different school, he has two problems. One, of course, he feels very awkward, and what's the reason for this awkwardness? And these are things which could come as MCQs, so please make a note of all these small details. What's the reason for the sense of discomfort that he feels in his new school? That is because none of his friends, actually his closest friends, were sent to a different high school. ओके, वो सारे दोस्त इस स्कूल में नहीं आए, वे दूसरे हाई स्कूल में चले गए थे, और इस वजह से उनको काफी अकेलापन महसूस हो रहा था. He felt very isolated and he felt strange starting as a freshman, यानी कि एक तरह से नई शुरुआत करने में उनको काफी अजीब सा लग रहा था. And so also this particular school was a much bigger school than his previous school. तो एक तरह से एक बड़ा सा एक अलग से माहौल था और एक बड़ा स्कूल था, तो उसमें से भी उनको एक तरह से इंटिमिडेटिंग फीलिंग, एक तरह से डर का वातावरण लगता था. He felt a little intimidated and out of place in those new surroundings. That's why he felt isolated, he felt lonely. Isolated is the word used in the story. Also he missed his old teachers, तो इसलिए वह वापस अपने पुराने स्कूल जाते रहते थे, so that he would feel at ease when he's interacting with people who he already knows pretty well. and they encouraged him to get involved with the activities at the new school, ताकि एक तरह से you will get used to a new place. It's just like, when you go from one school to another, if your parents get transferred, you change your school, or when you move from a school to a college, you'll always feel a little strange and take some time adjusting to the new surroundings. That is what the author is going through. That's what he is talking about. Now, the other big important relationship in this particular story is between the author and the cat, and I would say this is the most important relationship that he has spoken about at length. Now, the cat he had actually rescued when it was a kitten. Okay, जब छोटी थी तब उसको उन्होंने कहीं से ढूंढ के निकाला था, उनकी रेस्क्यू की थी, which is why he feels that the cat looks at the author as someone who gave her the good life. Okay, this is an important line, again can come as an MCQ, that it was the author who had given the good life to this cat. So there is a sense of gratitude on part of the kitten, and she is very close to the author in this particular story, और इसके बारे में हम बाद में भी जानेंगे. अभी होता क्या है कि एक संडे आफ्टरनून को, दोपहर को, he is sitting, he is doing his homework. It's a very cold day, very windy day, and वहाँ पर fireplace में जिस तरह से यूरोपियन कंट्रीज में होता है, वहाँ पे आग लगा के रखी हुई थी, and his mother kept stoking the fire ताकि आग जलती रहे and the whole atmosphere remains warm. And then suddenly they find that a lot of smoke has entered the house. The house has actually caught fire. Okay, so that's something they suddenly realize, that suddenly the whole smoke has filled the room and the house has caught fire. And then he runs out, and then he realizes that his mother has actually gone back to the house. And why does she go back to the house? Because the protagonist, the author's father, had died at a very young age. So she does not want the photographs, the memories of her late husband to be burnt in that house. So she has gone back to get the photographs and the letters written by her late husband, that is the author's father, to bring it out. And obviously he is in shock, because now she has gone inside while the entire house is up in flames. Initially she has carried out a small metal box full of important documents. Okay, so अगर आपसे MCQ में पूछा जाए या 1 मार्क का प्रश्न है कि पहले क्या लेके आई, important documents. Why did the mother go inside again? To get the letters and the photographs of her late husband. He comes out. By the time the fire engine has come, he pleads with the firemen, "Ki please rescue my mother," and they don't allow him to go inside. And finally the fireman said, "Don't worry, she's going to be okay. She just inhaled a little smoke." They bring her out successfully. 5 hours later, the fire was finally put out. Again an MCQ question. How much time did the firemen took to put out the fire? 5 hours they took. But the house was completely burned down. The tragedy was that he could not see his cat anywhere. Again, I come back to the important relationship between the author and the बिल्ली, कि उनको अपनी बिल्ली कहीं पर भी नजर नहीं आई, and he felt very aggrieved that the cat शायद इस पूरे आग में उसका निधन हो गया होगा, and he broke down in tears और काफी रोए. He was really suffering. Now the firemen wouldn't go back, let them go back to the house, because the whole structure could collapse. It was dangerous, right? So they went and stayed at their grandparents' house. On Monday, the next day, he had to go to school. His mother insisted that he should go to school, right? So what happened? That day he had to borrow some tennis shoes from his aunt. He was wearing a different attire, not the school uniform, because सब कुछ जल गया था. So he felt very out of place, because he felt very awkward. As it is, he used to feel very lonely in that school. Now, because he is going to look very different from the rest of these school friends, he felt even more out of place and very awkward about it. He said, "I was destined to be an outcast." Outcast का मतलब जिसको कि सोसाइटी एक तरह से अलग मानती है. So he is kind of thinking of all those things. And a geek. Geek means someone who is little seen as someone different from the rest of the crowd. All my life I did not want to grow up, change, or have to handle life if it was going to be this way. I just wanted to curl up and die. So his sense of remorse, उनके मन में इतना दुख उमड़ के आया है that he wants to actually die. He doesn't even want to continue this life. So just imagine that he actually thinks that it's a major calamity that has befallen him. Of course it's a calamity. घर का जल जाना is a tragedy. But he is very bothered about how he is going to be at school, where he is going to look very different from the rest of the schoolmates. Okay, and he walked around the school like a zombie. Zombie का मतलब without, you know, एक तरह से उनको अंदाजा नहीं है कि क्या हो रहा है. It's almost in his own world, lost in his own thoughts. You know, everything felt surreal. That is not very real. Everything did not feel very real, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen. All the security I had known from my old school, my friends, my house and my cat had been ripped away. So this is an important line, because उनका जो भी past था, the बिल्ली, the house, the school, the friends, everything was in the past tense. एक तरह से सब कुछ had become a blank slate. And then he came back, he saw the house, the damage and everything, quite a bit of damage because of the water and the chemicals that was used by the firemen. Even more of damage had been done. They had to borrow money from their grandparents, and then the rubble was cleared. Rubble मतलब जितना भी पूरा जो सूट था, पूरा जो घर डैमेज हो गया था, उसको क्लियर सब किया गया. And he kept thinking of the little kitten, but obviously she was nowhere to be found. Okay, and he would remember that how she would tag along with him, climb up his robe जो कि वो पहनते थे, and crawl into my pocket to fall asleep. So it shows a very intimate relationship between the cat and the author. Okay, and then things started changing, because the school में very secretly they organized a fund collection drive ताकि सबसे पैसे collect किए in order to help the author जिनका नाम है Zan, ताकि they could buy him the school whatever books he had lost, the notebooks, the uniform, etc., clothes, etc., so they could buy, so that he could lead a normal life, at least as far as school life was concerned once again. And that's where he felt that life was actually taking a turn for the better, because now he found new friends who even invited him over to their place, right? They came up to him to introduce himself. So many days that had happened before the fire, when he had been feeling very isolated and lonely, abhi things started changing, because many of them came and introduced themselves. Everybody knew about the tragedy that had occurred in Zan's life, and they genuinely felt bad for what had happened. Their genuine outpouring of concern, यानी कि उनका जो दुख है वो उमड़ के आया, and that was very genuine, यानी कि उसमें काफी सच्चाई और काफी ईमानदारी थी, and it really touched Zan, that कि उनसे he felt very moved as a result of all the concern that was shown by his different school friends. उनको लगा कि इनको सचमुच में मेरे साथ जो हुआ उस पर उनको काफी दुख है, और वो दुख उन लोगों ने, उन स्कूल फ्रेंड्स ने व्यक्त किया. In that instant, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. तो हालांकि काफी बड़ी ट्रेजेडी, दुर्घटना हुई थी जैन की जिंदगी में, लेकिन उस दुर्घटना से there was something positive coming for him. Okay, वो बोलते हैं ना, there was a silver lining. Every dark cloud has a silver lining. वही तरह की कहावत यहाँ पर फिट होती है, that even though a tragedy had occurred in Zan's life, उसकी वजह से now he found many new friends, and I thought for the first time that things were going to be okay. So he was feeling positive, he was feeling optimistic. उनको एक तरह से लग रहा था कि शायद अब जिंदगी बेहतर हो सकती है. I made friends that day. Okay, so it also shows the importance of friends, and many of you would identify with that you feel the need for friends. Nobody likes to be lonely and alone and isolated, but for the first time, even though a major tragedy had occurred in his life, he felt good that he had made friends that day. A month later, एक महीने बाद, वो अपने घर के सामने खड़े थे जब उनका घर का फिर से मरम्मत चल रही थी, रीबिल्ड हो रहा था घर, फिर से उसको बनाया जा रहा था. और इस समय he was not alone. I was with two of my new friends from school. School से दो दोस्त उसके साथ थे, जैन के साथ. He said, it took a fire, और इस लाइन को नोट कीजिए, it took a fire for me to stop focusing on my feelings of insecurity. Because पहले ये था कि उनको लगता था कि मेरे कोई दोस्त नहीं है, मैं काफी अलग हूं और काफी अकेला हूं, और एक तरह से बहुत insecure फीलिंग करते थे कि मैं I'm not good enough to be made friends with, इस तरह की उनको फीलिंग आती थी. अब उनके काफी दोस्त बन गए थे. तो he says it took a tragedy, it took a fire for me to stop focusing on कि मेरे अंदर की इस तरह की जो insecurity की feelings है उसको बंद कर दिया गया, और अब मैं जो different मेरे जो बेहतरीन दोस्त मेरे बन गए थे. To all the wonderful friends that I had made, I began to enjoy their company. उनकी कंपनी को मैं enjoy करने लगा. And now I was sitting there watching my house being rebuilt when I realized my life was doing the same thing. And this is a very important line, and you could get this line and you could be asked to explain इसका मतलब क्या है. Okay, इसका अर्थ क्या है. उनका घर बिल्ड हो रहा था, सो घर एंड जैन की जिंदगी आर इन ए वे गोइंग पैरेलल टू ईच अदर. एक तरह से घर इज अ मेटाफर फॉर जैन्स लाइफ. उनका घर की मरम्मत चल रही थी, उसको फिर से रीबिल्ड किया जा रहा था. यहां जैन की जिंदगी को भी रीबिल्ड किया जा रहा था. जैन की जिंदगी में नए दोस्त आए थे. दे वर लाइक अ फ्रेश एयर इनटू, अ ब्रेथ ऑफ फ्रेश एयर इनटू हिज लाइफ. घर was again being built with concrete, with bricks, with cement and everything else, right? So that was also being rebuilt. So both things were being rebuilt at the same time. So in that sense, this is an important comparison between Zan's life and the house. While he was there, and this is another element which happens, a woman comes to him with a cat, and that's when he realized that's his cat which had gone missing. Now it had gone missing and the lady had found it, and the phone number was written on the collar, but when she called up the phone, everything had got burned, so it had got disconnected, so she couldn't get through, right? So the cat, jab aag lagi thi, काफी डर गई थी, and she escaped from the fire. And this particular wonderful woman took her in and worked hard to find out कि किसकी बिल्ली है. And because she knew that this cat was loved, जिस तरह की body language बिल्ली की थी, she realized that it would be, the owner would really be missing her, which was really true as far as Zan was concerned. As I sat there with my friends and my cat curled up in my lap, okay, all the overwhelming feelings of loss and tragedy seemed to diminish. अभी उनको लगा कि जितना भी मैंने खोया है आग की वजह से, that is all coming to an end, because काफी कुछ खोया लेकिन मैंने काफी कुछ पाया भी है पिछले 1 महीने के अंदर. And he felt gratitude for his life. उनको एक तरह से लगा कि ये जिंदगी अच्छी है, and he felt grateful. उनको आभार व्यक्त किया एक तरह से जिंदगी को कि मेरी जिंदगी अच्छी चल रही है. To my new friends, the kindness of a stranger, that is the lady, and the loud purr of my beloved cat. My cat was back and so was I. Now this is the second line which you could get and asked to explain the context. Now इसका अर्थ क्या है? My cat was back and so was I. इसका basic meaning is that the cat had made a return to the original surrounding, that it was back with the person it loved, she loved the most. The cat loved this boy the most, Zan the most. And so was Zan again getting back to a life where there was a lot of love, there was a lot of affection, there was a lot of concern, and he had friends, schoolmates as his friends. So in that sense, this line is also very important. Both in that sense had found their home. The home was being constructed, the new home was being constructed, and the cat had found its home. For the cat, it is not the physical house which is their home. Its home could even be in the pocket of Zan's robe, right? So for the cat, it had found its home, and for Zan, all these new things, the house, the new house, the school friends, the new atmosphere at school, everything was contributing, the kindness of a stranger, everything was contributing to making him feel good all over again. So it's all about new relationships. Okay, so that is what is the meaning of the last line that you would need to remember. So what are the kind of questions that you could possibly be asked apart from what I have already told you? You could be asked, in what condition does the author go back to the school the next day on Monday after the fire, which means deeply embarrassed, not properly dressed, no books, no bag. He walked around the school like a zombie, means in a very dull kind of manner, and he felt very insecure, right? So you need to mention all these things in your answer. Why does the author break down after his house catches fire? Because the cat was not to be found anywhere. The house was completely burned down, because a घर एक तरह की security, physical and emotional security प्रदान करता है. And the author thought that the cat had been killed, right? A month later, I was at my house watching them rebuild it, but this time it was different. हाउ वॉज इट डिफरेंट, ये प्रश्न पूछा जा सकता है, क्योंकि उस समय पर जैन द ऑथर वॉज नॉट अलोन, उनके साथ दो नए दोस्त थे, एंड नाउ ही वॉज फोकस्ड ऑन फीलिंग्स ऑफ पॉजिटिविटी, ही वॉज नो लॉन्गर फीलिंग इनसिक्योर, एंड ही वॉन्टेड टू बी फ्रेंडली विद द पीपल अराउंड हिम. ओके, सो देयर वॉज दिस मेजर चेंज जैन इन द बिगिनिंग ऑफ द स्टोरी एंड द एंड ऑफ द स्टोरी. ये एक दूसरा प्रश्न पूछा जा सकता है कि कहानी के शुरुआत में और कहानी के अंत में जैन कि किस तरह के ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन, किस तरह का बदलाव होता है, उसके बारे में बताइए. दैट कैन कम एज अनदर क्वेश्चन. सो दिस इज एसेंशियली एज फार एज ए हाउस इज नॉट अ होम इज concerned. I hope the story is clear. There is a phrase used here, milling around, which essentially means moving around in an aimless manner, right? The author का नाम और उनकी spelling जरूर याद रखिएगा, because you will do well to actually mention it in your answers, right? So thank you very much for watching. Do watch Study with Sudhir for all the explanation videos of all the class 9 English chapters, poems, as well as stories from Beehive as well as Moments. Thank you very much for watching.